My name is Andrew Harper. I'm 62 years old, a retired logistics officer, and a widower who spends his quiet days in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. I wasn't born into wealth, but I built my life with discipline, patience, and the belief that family meant everything until mine proved me wrong. My son Derek has always lived louder, faster, and crueler than I could ever understand. He was his mother's golden child, society's favorite, while I stood in the background, quiet, invisible, necessary only when bills needed paying or lessons needed enforcing. I've carried that quiet like armor until last night when my son called me a stain and told me not to come to his wedding. He thought that would be the end of it. He has no idea what I've kept buried and what happens now that I've decided to dig it up. 3:17 a.m. The screen blinked Derek as I blinked awake. "Dad," he said before I could speak, "I'm getting married tomorrow. Brittany and I are locking it down." "You're not invited." The silence crackled like something broken. "You're a stain. Always have been." Click. By 7:42 a.m. I was at the bank. 3 tellers looked up when I walked in. I nodded at the manager. Stephen always wore his tie too tight. "I need to make a withdrawal," I said. "Savings." He blinked at his monitor, shifted in his seat. "Your account's been flagged, Mr. Harper." "For what?" "Unusual access attempts, multiple authorizations. A hold was placed pending review." He tapped again, frowned deeper. "There's also a recent account access change. Power of attorney update. 3 years ago." I froze. I never signed that. Stephen turned the screen to me. My name, my signature, my address. But it wasn't my handwriting. Too smooth. Too perfect. Mary Ann used to say, mine looked like I wrote with a screwdriver. "You'll need to file a fraud report," Stephen muttered, eyes now nervous. This is serious." I drove home with the heat cranked high and my breath fogging the windshield. The metal lockbox in the hallway closet still smelled faintly of gun oil. I pried it open. Pension documents, birth certificates, the deed to the rental house on Belmont Street, and then an envelope, ivory heavy, written in Mary Ann's hand. "Only open if something goes terribly wrong." I stared at it. My hands shook. Outside, the street was silent. Too silent. I stood at the window for a long minute. A white sedan was parked across the street, engine idling. No plates. I closed the curtains. I made tea, burnt my tongue. The envelope sat unopened. By noon, I found myself pulling up every document I'd ever signed since Mary Ann passed. Most were scanned into the cloud. Secure. Archived. Until I found one dated June 18th, 3 years ago. Limited financial control transfer. Harper Estate. The signature matched the one on Stephen's screen. And the witness signature? Jude Barrington. My pulse went sharp. Jude was Mary Ann's friend first. He handled our estate, our wills. He sat beside me when we buried her. "Trust isn't built, it's borrowed," he once told me. And people like us, working-class ghosts, only get one shot at not disappearing. I'd borrowed trust, and someone was cashing it in. At 9:14 p.m., I tried calling Derek again. Straight to voicemail. I left one message. "Whatever you think you've done, you haven't finished doing it." I didn't sleep. I watched the sedan all night. When I stepped outside at dawn, the car was gone, but a slip of paper was under my windshield wiper. A wedding invite. No name. Just a location, Riverside Country Club, 11 a.m. If Derek forged this, then who else knew I'd never see it coming? Rain clawed at the windshield like it had something to prove. My knuckles whitened around the steering wheel as the Riverside Country Club came into view. Too pristine, too gold-lit, too far removed from the world I'd spent 6 decades surviving in. I parked across the street. A valet eyed my rusted Buick like it was a bomb. Good. Let them watch. Inside the car, I rehearsed it. Walk in, calm voice. Find Derek. Say what needs to be said. Pull the plug before it's too late. Then she stepped out of the black SUV. Red dress, red lips, black umbrella, Brittany. She didn't see me. She was too busy shaking hands with a man in a trench coat. Tall, gray beard, professional briefcase. Not her type. He handed her an envelope. She didn't open it, just tucked it into her purse like she already knew what was inside. That wasn't affection. That was transaction. I followed her in, through the side entrance, staff hallway, silver carts of champagne and finger food. The corridor smelled like lemon polish and old money. No one stopped me. Sometimes being invisible is a weapon. Upstairs, I ducked into a side room, linen closet. I needed air. Instead, I got voices. 2 men, 1 woman, behind the next door. If he shows up, it won't matter, the woman snapped. Brittany, Jude's confirmed. The trust activates post-ceremony. Vows in ink, signatures filed, assets rerouted. He can scream all he wants after. Pause. Laughter. Cold. Mechanical. Besides, she added, you think Derek has the balls to back out now? My stomach flipped. This wasn't a wedding. It was a trigger, and I was the target they wanted gone before the shot fired. I moved fast. Back downstairs. Past the ballroom, crystal chandeliers, and too many teeth in every smile. I caught a glimpse of Derek. He looked older, suit sharp, eyes dead. For a second, he looked right at me and didn't flinch, like I was already buried. I found the dressing room, locked, slid my lockpick, small tension wrench taught to me years ago in the service, into the handle. Click. Inside, perfume hung heavy. Dresses, makeup, a laptop, still open, still active, a spreadsheet, account numbers, asset transfers, multiple names. Harper Estate wasn't the only one. 4 other grooms, different counties, different dates, all marrying women tied to offshore corporations. My breath caught. This wasn't personal. It was a system. Then the door handle turned. I ducked. Behind the vanity, heels clicked in. Brittany on the phone. No, I told you, he's nosing around, but even if he finds something, it's too late. Jude said the clause locks with the certificate. We get the house, the pension, all of it. She opened a drawer, pulled something out. Keys, USB, lipstick. Tell Barrington to have the documents in the vault by 10. If Andrew Harper shows up at that altar, I want security to bury him in protocol. I held my breath. She paused, then walked out. I slipped from the room 10 seconds later, heart pounding, mouth dry. The air outside the door felt thicker, like someone else was breathing it. I checked my coat pocket. The letter, gone. I tore through my back seat, my briefcase. Nothing. Drove home like hell was licking my tires. Rain louder now. Streetlights bleeding across the windshield. I shoved open the door to my house. Papers everywhere. Drawers open. File cabinets gutted. Only one thing missing. The envelope. Marianne's warning. Gone. The front window was cracked an inch open. I never leave it cracked. They'd been inside. They knew what I had. They were ahead. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text. Too slow. See you at the altar. I stared at the screen. Someone else opened it first. I parked 2 blocks down, killed the engine, and listened. Nothing but the hum of streetlights and a late bus braking at the corner. The law office of Barrington and Lake sat on East 19th like a sealed tomb. Windows black. No alarm blinking. Just the faint glow of a hallway light deep inside. People build fortresses not to keep others out, but to keep secrets in. I still had the code. The keypad gave a soft beep. Door clicked. I slipped inside. Old carpet. Cold marble. The faint smell of cedar and toner. I didn't need a flashlight. I'd walked these halls back when Marianne and I wrote our first will, when Derek was 12, before he decided we were worth selling. The vault was behind the main conference room. 2nd floor, far end. I moved fast, no footsteps, no cameras, no alarms. That meant someone had disabled them or never reactivated after hours. Inside the vault room, I found the archive terminal. Dusty screen. External drive still plugged in. The interface. Blinked. Client folder. Harper Estate. Secondary clauses. Mar-Low full conf. I opened it. A holographic video launched. Marianne's face. Younger, paler, resigned. If this is being viewed, she said, then someone has betrayed Andrew, and it's likely someone close. She looked left, like she heard something. I knew Derek wasn't built like his father. He wanted shortcuts, easy power. I tried to warn you, love. I tried. My fingers curled on the table edge. I added a conditional clause, she went on. If any biological heir attempts to remove Andrew from the estate using legal force, all privileges void. The assets revert to the trust. He must present this video to a registered estate officer before the marriage is finalized. Boom. A noise downstairs. Heavy. Muffled. I froze the video. Moved to the door. Boots on tile. One set. Deliberate steps. A flashlight beam flickered through the stairwell window. Someone else was in the building. I grabbed the external drive, shoved it in my coat, slipped into the hallway. He turned the corner just as I backed into the shadows. Mask, gloves, slim build, tactical. He didn't see me, moved straight to the vault door, pulled something from his coat. Accelerant. He splashed it fast. Efficient. No hesitation. Lit a match. I didn't think. I charged, knocked the can from his hand. The fire licked across the floor. Whoosh, igniting a chair leg, then curtains. He swung a flashlight at my head. I ducked, grabbed a steel paperweight, swung back. Crack. He dropped, rolled, bolted. Smoke now. Thick, acrid. I grabbed the burning folder marked Caraway Secondary Estates and ran. Outside, the air hit like ice. I coughed until I tasted blood. The building behind me lit up orange at the edges. Sirens screamed down the avenue. I didn't wait. I slid into my car and hit the gas. 2 blocks out, I pulled over, plugged the drive into my laptop. The video continued. "If you're hearing this," Marianne whispered, "you have 1 shot left. He won't stop. Jude won't stop. But you can still cut the cord." Cut the cord. That phrase. Years ago, she said the same thing when we buried her mother. Let the dead keep their secrets, Andrew. Cut the cord before they strangle you. I didn't listen then, but I would now. I pulled up the trust protocol. There it was. The clause. If Andrew Harper presents validated evidence of forced removal prior to marital transfer of inheritance rights, the trust redirects to protective custody under state enforcement. Time stamped. Activated upon marriage registration. They had hours, maybe less. I backed out of the file, pulled up CCTV stills from the law office, exported 1 frame. The masked man exiting the building. Paused, zoomed, face exposed just enough. Jude Barrington, my wife's oldest friend, her executor, the man who blessed our vows. And now, the man trying to erase mine. I don't have time to grieve. I have 6 hours to win back my life. The clouds over Riverside were thick, black, and angry. I parked in the alley behind the country club's East Service entrance, stripped the burnt jacket, changed into a valet's uniform I'd swiped 2 nights ago when I first walked the perimeter. Weddings are predictable. Entrances, exits, rhythms. It's not the chaos that kills you. It's the illusion of celebration while the knife slides under the tablecloth. I walked in pushing a champagne cart. No one blinked. Servers don't exist to rich people. They're part of the wallpaper. In the ballroom, gold and white drapery glowed under chandeliers. Guests laughed like the world wasn't closing in on them, like the man they were here to toast hadn't signed away his soul for a condo and a dress. Derek stood at the altar, tie straight, shoulders high, but his jaw clenched the way it used to before he got caught lying. I kept moving, down the west corridor, toward the bridal suite. 2 guards posted outside. Not security. Private hires. Brittany's voice carried through the door. I don't care if he has a flash drive. Jude already buried the clause in a backup shell company. All that matters is the vows go through. Once it's signed, the transfer's irreversible. A pause. You want a clean break? Then make sure he never gets near the ceremony. I ducked back, turned, found a side door. Locked. I used the same trick as at Jude's office. Paperclip tension tool. Click. Inside, makeup scattered, champagne half-finished, tablet glowing on the vanity. Still logged in. I tapped through windows, spreadsheet, shell companies, property records, each tab more rotten than the last. 1 document froze me mid-breath. Harper Trust Secondary Clause, trigger event pending. Underneath, 4 other names, 4 men, 4 weddings, all linked to Caraway Holdings. Brittany's real name? Not Brittany. Caraway. This wasn't just Derek's betrayal. It was a pattern. Business. A hunt. A cold gust hit the back of my neck. I turned. The mirror above the vanity reflected the door. Now open an inch. I lunged. No one but a single red high heel stood outside in the hall, abandoned like a warning. I raced back through the corridor. Ballroom music throbbed louder now. Derek's voice echoed over the mic. And I promise to love, protect. I pushed into the back hall just as 2 men in black grabbed my arms. One had a radio. We got him. I twisted, slammed my heel on his instep, headbutted the second. They staggered. I ran, cut through the kitchen, flames, steam, knives. A chef screamed. I grabbed a tray and shoved it toward the fire alarm. Shrieking klaxons. Water sprayed from the ceiling. Screams followed. Chaos by seconds. I used all of them, ran back through the ballroom, soaked guests, dresses ruined, tuxedos dripping. I locked eyes with Derek. He froze mid-vow. I held up the flash drive. He didn't move, but Brittany did. She stepped forward, smiling. "We're so sorry for the interruption," she said sweetly. "My father's unwell. He's not supposed to be here." I stepped forward. "I have proof. Jude Barrington, trust clause, property theft, all of it." She tilted her head. "That won't save you, Andrew. You're already too late." From the corner of my eye, I saw motion on the mezzanine, a man in a gray suit. Jude. He didn't run. He smiled, raised a champagne flute. Someone grabbed me from behind again. Different hands. Rougher. Security had real muscle this time. One whispered, "You should have stayed dead, Harper." I fought, clawed. "Check the clause," I yelled. "Marianne left a failsafe. Ask the registrar." No one moved. Brittany took the mic. "We'd like to thank you all for being here. Let's restart our ceremony in a few moments. Love is unpredictable, but always worth it." She winked at me. They dragged me through. The back. My feet scraped tile. The last thing I saw was the notary walking up with the marriage license, pen in hand. If they're locking in the marriage, I need to crash the vows, or be buried with them. They shoved me through the service exit like I was a drunk uncle, not the man holding the fuse. My body hit the wet concrete with a thud. The rain had started again. Harder now, slicing sideways in sheets. I didn't stay down. The valet key was still in my pocket. I sprinted to the staff lot, climbed into a silver Tesla with a bow on the hood. Gifted that morning, no doubt. "To a future we can't escape," someone had said. I hotwired the dash. 30 seconds later, I was circling the block. The 5th floor. Barrington's legal arm had rented the top level of the country club for estate finalization. Quiet paperwork, away from the champagne and camera phones. Translation: the crime scene before the toast. Back alley entrance. No one posted. The service elevator was keycard locked. I jammed a fork in the reader and kicked the panel until it buzzed and groaned and clicked. I rode up in silence, breath shallow. The doors opened to an empty hallway. Marble. Floors. Gilt trim. Silent as a morgue. The conference room was marked private, staff only. I entered. They'd staged it like a chapel. 5 leather chairs, a long table, 2 notaries, a bottle of Dom chilling near a printer. Ceremony by contract. On the wall, a whiteboard covered in names. Half I didn't recognize. One I did. Caraway. I moved fast. Computer open. No password. Folder structure clean. Too clean. Inside, estate transfer docs. File paths marked with innocuous titles. Birthday JPG. Receipts menu 2 PDF. I opened one. Not menus. Marriage licenses, asset reallocation. Subtrusts created hours before. All leading to the same beneficiary. Caraway Holdings, Zurich branch. Brittany didn't want Derek. She wanted what Derek gave her access to. I copied everything onto a fresh USB. Time, 10:34. The marriage would be signed in less than 25 minutes. I needed internet. Public Wi-Fi was dead. Firewalls blocked outside connections. Every file I tried to email bounced back. No signal. And then a click. Footsteps behind me. The elevator had dinged again. I killed the screen. Backed into the hallway. Around the corner, black boots, gray slacks. A man with gloves. Not Derek. Not club staff. Too smooth. Too quiet. He didn't see me. Walked past with a canvas satchel. From the end of the hall, I saw it. He was heading to the records vault. Then I caught the smell. Fuel. I moved. Fast. Quiet. Slipped behind him just as he opened the supply room. He pulled out a metal canister. Unscrewed the cap. Accelerant. Same kind used at Barrington's office. He splashed it across the carpet. I grabbed the nearest thing. Metal coat rack. Swung. He turned. Too late. The rack cracked across his arm. He dropped the can. We fought. Hard. No elegance. Just panic and purpose. He reached for a match. I drove my elbow into his ribs. He staggered. I ripped the USB from the desk, shoved it into my pocket, and bolted. The fire. Caught anyway. He'd already lit the curtain. Flames jumped up the wall. Sprinklers hissed. Smoke poured low and fast. I ran through it, coughing, half blind. Doors blurred. Heat on my back like breath. Elevator was lit red, offline. Stairs, 4 flights. Each one a prayer, each step a drumbeat. I burst into the lobby, gasping, soaked in sweat and ash. 2 security men stared at me. One lifted his walkie. Too late. I was already out the door. I didn't stop until I hit the curb, collapsed against a lamppost, pulled the USB from my pocket, still intact, burnt edges, but the data was there, all of it. Across the street, a black car waited. Not Derek, not Brittany, not security. He stepped out. Jude Barrington. No mask this time. Just a smile, and a champagne flute raised in mock salute. He got back in, drove off. He didn't just take my son. He's taken dozens of sons. The ballroom was chaos. Guests drenched from the sprinkler system, staff scrambling, the notary frantically drying off the marriage license with the edge of her sleeve. And Brittany, flawless in white satin, stood at the altar like she hadn't just orchestrated the slow-motion theft of half a generation. I pushed through the crowd, my clothes scorched, face still smeared with soot. The USB clutched in my fist like a detonator. "This wedding is fraud," I said loud, clear, through the ringing in my ears. "Stop the damn ceremony." A moment of silence. Then Brittany smiled. Security stepped forward. Derek didn't move. "Play it," I told the DJ. "Right now." The man hesitated. I reached over, plugged the USB into his console. The screen behind the altar flickered. Then Mary Ann's voice filled the room. "If you're seeing this, it means Andrew's been betrayed." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her face, gentle, aged, kind, stared down from the projector like a ghost refusing to go quietly. I left a clause. If my son, or anyone, attempts to cut Andrew out using legal force, the trust is nullified, reverts to state protection. The words hit like a gavel, a moment of frozen silence. Then, the doors slammed open. Sheriff's deputies poured in. One approached the notary. "Ma'am, step away from the document." 2 moved toward Brittany. She stepped back, hands half raised. Jude was already gone. Derek just stood there, pale, broken. He looked at me, and for the first time, I didn't see my son. I saw a man drowning in his own decisions. "I didn't know," he said. "Not all of it." She said you were controlling." "I was trying to protect something you never bothered to understand," I said. "Family isn't who you love, it's who you don't sell." Brittany laughed. "Your wife was smart, Andrew. Too bad her son wasn't." Then they cuffed her. Afterward, the guests, scattered like ants. Gossip and perfume filled the air as flashing red and blue lights danced across the crystal chandeliers. The venue manager stood in the corner, hyperventilating into a napkin. I walked through the mess, past the abandoned cake, past the now pointless centerpieces. A little girl in a pink dress looked up at me and asked, "Was that part of the wedding?" I smiled. The real part. Outside, the rain had stopped, just mist now, the kind that hangs in the air like breath you haven't exhaled. I sat on a bench beneath the awning, unwrapped the final envelope Mary Ann left. One line, handwritten. "You still have the name I gave you. Hold on to that. We spend so much of life building legacies in other people, hoping they'll carry it right, guard it well. But sometimes they drop it. Sometimes they light it on fire. And when they do, all you're left with is what you saved from the wreckage. Not money, not property, but the truth." I stood as the last squad car pulled away. No victory speech, no revenge fantasy fulfilled, just a quiet man walking back into the world with scars where inheritance used to live. They tried to erase me from my family. Instead, I became the only one who remembers what family means.